So I came up with this idea today, thinking about whether the universe is finite or infinite. There's a thing in counselling called Johari's window. Very, very useful thing. You have this square like this. Self. Others. And then what we've got here is we've got known, we've got unknown, and then we've got known here, and we've got unknown there. So what you end up with is things I know about myself are in this box, okay? And if they are also known to others, they're in this box, things I know about myself, and they're known to others. Right, so this is my public personality or persona. Things I don't know about myself but are known to others, that is my unawareness, I suppose, what you'd call unawareness, like a self-unawareness, right? That's one of the areas of the window that you want to explore when you're doing studying counselling, that area of Johari's window. What others know about you, but you don't know. And then you've got this known area here and unknown to others. This is your secret self. Your clandestine self, that sits in here. And then you've got unknown to yourself and unknown to others. And this is your sort of hidden self. So this is another window that psychology can explore, the hidden self that others don't know and you don't know. And this window is obviously the deepest one. And this obviously is where Donald Rumsfeld got his idea of known unknowns from, right? So you see how that an interesting logical framework that is to work out problems. So I come up with this idea because I was thinking about the universe and how has it been around for an infinite amount of time? And is it an infinite size? There are these two questions about infinity. So I thought we could make a Johari's window about the universe, and we can say, we can put the universe here, the size of the universe. So we can say not infinite, or it's infinite. So it should be an infinity with a line through it, shouldn't it, I suppose? So not infinite or infinite. And then we've got time here. Time, okay? Not infinite or infinite, right? And if we look at this, if we say that the universe is finite and it has been around for an infinite amount of time, yeah? That would mean there'd be an infinite amount of light in the universe. We'd be blinded. So that cannot be true. So we have crossed out a quarter of the possibilities. If we say that the universe is finite and has been around for a finite amount of time, that is possible. If we say the universe is infinite and has been around for a finite amount of time, that is not possible, because a finite amount of time is not enough for the infinite universe to be created. So I say that is not possible. We might argue on this. Also, the infinite universe that's been around for an infinite amount of time. Well, if it's an infinite universe, then that light wouldn't necessarily have accumulated. So that's kind of possible. It's not intuitively likely because we don't experience matter in an infinite way in the universe. That's to say, the fact that we can measure anything. Here's another thing, you see. If the universe had was an infinite size, wouldn't there be an infinite amount of gravity? However small these little bits of gravity from each body are, wouldn't it be infinite eventually? Wouldn't the whole thing just collapse? Because there'd be an infinite amount of matter. Or would the distances, would it just matter on the distances? If it's evenly spread, if all the matter in the universe is evenly spread, I think that's possible. It could just be more or less evenly spread, as it does appear to be. So this is possible. Infinite universe, infinite amount of time. Finite universe, finite amount of time. So, in other words, if the universe is infinite, it must have been around for an infinite amount of time. If the universe is finite, it must have only been around for a finite amount of time. Likewise, if time had a beginning, then the universe must be finite. If time had no beginning, then the universe must be infinite. Anyway, this is like Johari's window on the infinity of the universe. I just thought it was very interesting. So anyway, I say these are, give me the comments what you think below, but I say that the universe is finite or infinite, and time is related to that. So in other words, space, which is this, and time are inextricably linked, which is rather nice because we know that they are. We know that space-time, it's actually space-time. So we can say that with space-time, our universe, if it is infinite, must have an infinite amount of matter in it. And that must be the case, don't you think? Because otherwise the distribution wouldn't work, or would it? I don't know. It would depend at what stage we're observing it now, I suppose. I find it very hard to believe that, given that the objects in the universe have a finiteness to them, that they are clearly discernible from one another. I find it hard to believe that there can have been an infinite amount of time. And I think that the only possibility, I also think it's impossible that there could be an infinite amount of space, because then any object in the universe would be infinitesimally small by comparison to the total amount of space. So in proportion to the universe, it wouldn't exist. The matter wouldn't exist. There'd be an infinite... Well, no, there can be more than one infinity, can't there? You can have an infinite amount of... This is where I wasn't going to get into. You can have an infinite amount of space with an infinite amount of planets in that space that are actually taking up less space than the space, but they are also infinite, just like the hotel rooms, the odd and even hotel rooms, where you have an infinite number of rooms in the hotel, but there is also an infinite number of odd-numbered rooms, and there's also an infinite number of even-numbered rooms. And that, to me, it's all you're doing is you're cutting up the cake into thinner slices. All you're doing is changing the shape of the slice. You're not really changing the numbers. And if the hotel is circular, imagine that you had a circular hotel like the Sheraton Park Tower. You've got your little corridor here going around. You've got your elevators in the middle, and you've got your rooms around the outside. So we've got 8 rooms in this hotel. So we've got room number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now, if I walked around that corridor for an infinite amount of time, I would pass an odd-numbered room, and then an even-numbered room, and then an odd-numbered room, and then an even-numbered room. But if I walked around that corridor for an infinite number of times, I would pass an infinite number of rooms. But I would also pass an infinite number of odd-numbered rooms. I would also pass an infinite number of tufts of carpet hair, which are far more numerous than the rooms. So it doesn't matter how you slice up the cake, because, in fact, at the end of the day, the carpet hairs and the rooms, and whether they're numbered odd or even, is kind of irrelevant, because we can kind of say that, say I start here and I go round. We would say I walked around a hotel, and then I walked around an infinite number of Sheraton Park hotels. And then we don't have the problem of even and odd numbered rooms. It's only because we carved it up. But what that actually implies is that it's not possible to have an infinite number of things, because by carving it up you'd be increasing the number, and since you cannot increase the number of infinity, or can you? But you see, it's just a matter of categorization. It's just a matter of categorization. Really, it would be an infinite number of Sheraton Park hotels, and that would be an end to it, and that would be defined and decided not by the numbers of the rooms or where we built these dividing walls, because we could, after all, make the rooms smaller and have 16 rooms. Now we've increased the number of rooms again. We didn't do anything. The hotel's still the hotel. So really, it's a question of... actually, what the question really boils down to, since we've incorporated every object there into one thing and called it a hotel, and then we can have an infinite number of hotels, we could almost say that you can't really have an infinite number until you've gone past every possible object in that system of infinite objects. You have to go through every single possible object, and that's one. That whole hotel, that's one. You can't say that room is one, and that room is two, and that room is three. You have to go past them all, and then you have to go past all of them again, without exception. You can't walk around this corridor and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 2, 4, 6. You can't do that. You have to go past them all. So they're all incorporated into one unit, really, and it's that unit that gets made infinite. Not the even rooms or the odd rooms. It's the unit. It's that unit that repeats. And it's only at the point when you come back round to the top and you're repeating the unit again. And it's only within this system that the infinity counts as well. It doesn't matter whether you're going, what buildings you're passing outside, whether you've passed Marble Arch here. In fact, by the building being circular, you would only pass Marble Arch once as well, so you could kind of say that is part of the system, because that circle, you could even say the whole planet is part of that system, because that whole circle you're repeating as a unit, that could be your unit. Anyway, I don't know why I've got into that now, but I think that we need to grapple with the concept of infinities in order to... because it's not a mathematical infinity, the Earth, it is the universe. I mean, it is a physical thing. The universe is physical. So we are talking about an infinite number of physical objects. That's very different from this, which is an infinite amount of walking around a finite hotel. I mean, that is a physical object, but we're made infinite by walking around it an infinite number of times. And that's the only way we could do it. That's the only way we could get to infinity, was by using that same object more than once. The only way we could make infinity out of objects, conceptually, is to take the same object and just keep looking at it again and again and again. We don't have an experience of an infinite number of objects in our universe. And I don't buy the objection that, oh well, if there's an infinite number of the objects in the universe, then there must somewhere be the complete works of Shakespeare with a single letter different somewhere in the universe. No, I don't buy that, because I don't think that all possible things exist just because there's a very large number. But that's my personal belief, and I might be wrong in it. I might be mathematically provable that I'm wrong thinking that, because I just find that hard to believe. It's like, putting the monkeys writing infinitely on paper, and they'll eventually come up with the Shakespeare. I don't believe that. I don't believe that, because I think that monkeys don't sit and write and put paper together and that not tear it up at any point, and not eat it at any point, and not throw it around at any point. Monkeys don't sit and write reams of paper and stack it tidily. That is not what monkeys do. So I don't think monkeys would write the complete works of Shakespeare any more than a wasp would. If you left a wasp in a room with an infinite amount of time and a pen, I don't think it would write the complete works of Shakespeare. Because that's not the wasp's behaviour. The wasp would express wasp-like behaviour, and the monkeys will express monkey-like behaviour, which does not include the writing of Shakespeare. We could argue about whether, if you had an infinite number of people, I don't even think they would. I think only an infinite number of Shakespeares would write the complete works of... I think the complete works of Shakespeare can only be written by Shakespeare. So unless one of those infinite people is Shakespeare, you're not going to get the complete works of Shakespeare. And if one of them is Shakespeare, then you're obviously going to get it, and it's kind of doesn't really prove anything. Anyway, why am I talking about infinities? This whole thing is supposed to be about the universe, space-time and all the rest of it. But I have had thoughts on space-time recently, but I need to organise those thoughts a little bit better. In fact, I need to organise all of this. I've got hours of it here, and I doubt many of you have listened to it, but I've got hours of my theories about space-time here, and I would quite like to really I don't know, write a paper at the very least, or maybe even a short book about my conclusions about space-time, because I can't find anyone that agrees with them. I can't find anyone else that's got theories like mine on it, and I might be wrong. So if there is anyone, I'd like to know who it is. I'd rather like to. It would save me the trouble of having to develop my theory if someone else has done a better job of it already, of that idea. Anyway, it's early morning, and it's time for me to just sign off and upload this video, and yeah, I'll see you all later.